We did not hear about education reform at all in the first presidential debate. Will it be a priority for the next administration? I'm joined by Dani Babb, an education consultant and university professor. Nice to see you here.
You as well. Thank you.
There certainly was a lot of ground to cover last night, so it did not come up. But one issue that has been top of mind, and certainly for millennial voters, is student debt. Is that problem actually fixable by the next president?
I believe probably not. What we saw in the debate last night were two comments mentioned by the Clinton camp, and that is having debt-free college and also the ability to refinance student debt. I think the latter is more feasible than the former. If we have a situation where something costs nothing, there are other issues, of course. It's believed that that would cost around $71 billion, which is 4 times what the federal government currently spends just on Pell Grants alone.
So free college, how about reduced? I mean, one issue that we have seen are college costs rising faster than inflation. But that's not also really, the federal government doesn't get involved in that. That's more state governments and state universities. So is it really even an issue that can be tackled at a federal level?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I actually do not believe so. I think what will happen over time is we will see more market disruptors come into play, more for-profit education, educational opportunities for students that will lower costs and also improve quality. It's already put pressure on the state colleges and community colleges, state colleges, and private colleges. And that's probably more likely the solution, although most politicians are not going to be open to particularly discussing that in general.
Well, let's talk about the idea of refinancing. Donald Trump hasn't said too much about it, but he did give an interview, at least one that I saw, where he suggested the government get out of the lending business and that there are private finance companies, and we have that now. We see plenty of companies that have popped up that refinance student loans, usually at a lower rate. So does it make sense? Is that one particular item that both parties potentially could agree on, that let's not have the government provide student loans?
I think we will see the Republican Party agree on that. I don't particularly see the Democrats coming out in favor of that. Generally, it's more of a federal government thing. We have seen crowdsourcing even with regard to refinancing student debt. And we have also seen students take out home loans or refinance essentially, or take a home equity line of credit that is actually costs them less than the interest rate on their student loan.
Why do you think those loan rates are so high?
That's a really good question. I think it's largely the ability for people to charge what the market will bear, and that's essentially what's happening today.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me that's part of the problem. People can't pay off their debt because they're paying 8% interest when you look at LIBOR, which is several points below that. So it seems a little bit of a disconnect there.
Yeah, I even have students who are taking cash, or the credit card offers that they get in the mail at 0% for 20 months and refinancing their debt that way, restructuring it that way. And we also have companies like Payoff and so on, the consolidating companies that give you a flat amount at a much lower interest rate than some of the student loans. The rates are absurd, but I don't think that the government is the solution to that.
How about Pell Grants? Will that depend on which party wins the White House and who is in charge of Congress?
I don't see those going away. They've become such a fundamental and crucial part of so many people going back to school, all of the Title IV funding opportunities. I don't believe so.
And do you think there can be bipartisan solutions to education reform? Because I want to move kind of back away from the divisiveness that we see from time to time. Is education in general typically a bipartisan issue?
I think in some ways, yes, because we all have this fundamental belief that the more educated our workforce is, and the more opportunities people have to go back to school, the better off we will do nationally. However, the way that we get to that solution changes by party, obviously, and I don't, so far in any of the plans put forward, see a path that's bipartisan. That both parties are agreeing on. Of course, Trump actually hasn't put out much information about what his plan will be, but we do know, for example, for Clinton, that she wants to have $25 billion fund for socioeconomic disadvantaged students, or for colleges that tend to serve minority populations.
Well, hopefully as the campaign continues to move on, we'll hear a little bit more about education. In the meantime, we're glad you sorted us through it. Dani Babb, nice to have you here. Thanks.
Thank you.
I'm Rhonda Schaffler for The Street.